Good evening, Macau and the World Wide Web. I'm Herbert Ramos and welcome to this Thursday's news report in English. Here's what's going on locally and internationally as well. The South China Morning Post claims a 12-year-old girl has died from flu-like symptoms in a village where the sickness has been found. Local television showed pictures of the area, which is now under quarantine. If confirmed, it would be China's first known human death from bird flu, which experts across the world fear could mutate to spread easily from human to human and become a pandemic. If confirmed, it would be China's first known human death from bird flu, which experts across the world fear could mutate to spread easily from human to human and become a pandemic. Hei Yin and her 10-year-old brother fell ill about a week ago after eating chicken that had died from an unspecified illness in the village of Wantang. According to the paper, so far there was no evidence linking her death to the outbreak of bird flu in the village in Yunnan province, and none of the adults in her family had shown any flu symptoms. Doctors told her family she had died from fever. The newspaper did not say when the girl died. However, China's health ministry said it had not received any reports of human bird flu cases. China reported an outbreak of bird flu in Yunnan this week, following cases in northern Inner Mongolia and the eastern Anhui province, which it said had all been brought under control. Farmers in Wantang said many birds suddenly died about 10 days ago, adding that the girl's death had triggered fear in fellow villagers. The World Health Organization, or WHO, has said the H5N1 strain of bird flu is endemic in poultry in China and across much of Asia. Health experts fear it may only be a matter of time before it develops the ability to pass easily from human to human. H5N1 has killed more than 60 people in 4 Asian countries and reached as far west as European Russia, Turkey, and Romania, tracking the paths of migratory birds. China has reported no human cases so far, but a Hong Kong girl on a family visit to the mainland died of pneumonia in eastern China's Fujian province in the year 2003. Back locally, the Health Bureau Director mentioned this morning that the bird flu situation is getting more serious. Mr. Koi Kok-yang told reporters that Macau has already set up an intergovernmental working group to deal with any suspected case. Mr. Koi also said that the local public health lab is capable of identifying cases of this illness. It is a fact that bird flu cases are approaching Macau. The latest case reported by the central government was detected in the Yunnan province, which borders Guangdong. This has raised awareness level in the region. Local authorities have set up an intergovernmental working group which aims to prevent and control any cases of this disease. The Health Bureau Director, Mr. Koi Kok-yang, told reporters this morning that both hospitals have created a surveillance network to detect suspected human cases of bird flu. The network covers also elderly homes managed by the Social Affairs Bureau. The airport, the outer harbor terminal, and the land border with the mainland are also areas in which authorities will reinforce the surveillance. Mr. Koi Kok-yang told reporters that preventive measures are already in place, as it happens also in Hong Kong. The Health Bureau Director was talking this morning after a meeting conducted by the Health Reform Commission, to which discussed new legislations for our local pharmacies. It is said that in this issue, the government will supervise this activity more closely and create new regulations. There will be a minimum number of professionals working in each pharmacy, and they will have to undergo an exam before being allowed to operate in Macau. According to a top United States Treasury Department official, Macau has pledged to combat money laundering that could finance terrorism. United States Treasury Undersecretary for Terrorism and Financial Crimes Stuart Levy said he was optimistic that Macau was taking steps to plug vulnerabilities in its financial system that left it open to money laundering to finance terrorism and weapons of mass destruction. Last month, the United States Treasury Department put Banco Delta Macau on a blacklist after claiming that it was a willing pawn for North Korea and had been laundering money for Pyongyang. The move prompted a run on the bank by customers before the Macau government stepped in to take over its management. Macau is thus introducing new anti-money laundering laws. Its Legislative Council will discuss the introduction of the laws, particularly concerning large casino and property transactions, tomorrow. Yesterday, Mr. Levy met Macau Chief Executive Edmund Ho Hwa, Secretary for Economy and Finance Francis Tam Pek Yoon, Secretary for Administration and Justice Florinda Chan and Monetary Authority Chairman Anselmo Teng. He said that he is encouraged by the reaction he had with Macau. They are obviously taking these issues very seriously, he says. Mr. Levy, who is also visiting Singapore, Hong Kong, and Beijing, said he was discussing with government officials in each city how to deal with financial networks that support terrorism organizations and the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. The biggest warehouse in Macau is officially inaugurated today. This comes out of the structural results from the joint efforts conducted by several logistic companies. The warehouse is located in the Pak-on industrial area near the airport and has a total of 6,000 square meters. It aims to work closely with the cargo facilities in the airport. Alman Long, the Secretary for Transportation and Public Works, officiated the opening ceremony. The owners of this warehouse are planning to build another one in the Northern District near the exit of the Macau-Hong Kong Bridge. It would just be another 48 hours to go before the grand opening of the East Asian Games. The security arrangements were announced today. More than 400 police officers and 200 firemen have been put in security standby. This Saturday night would mark as the grand opening of the East Asian Games. The opening ceremony will take place in the stadium in Taipa. In the next 9 days, 2,700 athletes will compete for the medals. 3,000 VIPs will also be in town to watch the games. Local authorities have set up an impressive security arrangement scheme, as about 400 local police officers and 200 firemen will be on duty during the opening. In all of the stadium doors, metal detectors have been installed. No one will be allowed to enter with suspicious objects, as it would be subjected to remain outside the venue. During the event, there will be limitations on traffic and parking. The 15,000 tickets for the opening ceremony are sold out, as more than 9,000 people will take part in the opening show. Shares in China Construction Bank rose 1% on their trading debut on a sluggish Hong Kong market. Sentiment scraped some of the shine from the bank's $8 billion IPO, the world's biggest in 4 years. The stock, by far the most active on the Hong Kong house, had been expected to rise only slightly, if at all, given recent equity market weakness and the huge size of a deal that left little pent-up demand for shares. At the ceremony at the stock exchange to celebrate a listing, the bank's chairman, Guo Chu-ching, welcomed China Construction Bank, the country's third largest lender, priced its offering near the top of an indicated range, giving it a market value of nearly $67 billion. According to an Army general, Philippine security forces on Wednesday arrested the leader of an Islamic militant group suspected of involvement in the sinking of a ferry that killed more than 100 people last year. Ahmad Islam Santos, the head of a radical Muslim convert group with ties to the Abu Sayyaf terror group, and 8 suspected militants were caught from a house in Zamboanga, one of the largest cities on the southern island of Mindanao. Police said weapons, explosives, and maps of the capital, Manila, were seized from the hideout. Police presented some of the militants arrested during a press conference this morning in the capital.
And I would like to congratulate all of the members and leaders of the Anti-Terrorism Task Force for the capture of the leader of the Raja Sulaiman group, or the Balik Islam group.
Santos, also known as Hilarion del Rosario, is believed to have founded the Raja Sulaiman movement in the late 1990s after he converted to Islam and attended military training in a Muslim rebel camp in Mindanao's Lanao province.
His arrest is a great blow. While it is true that in that kind of organization, another leader might come in, but we still have to look for one who has the leadership ability as demonstrated by Ahmad Santos.
The Abu Sayyaf group claimed responsibility for the sinking of the ferry near Manila in 2004. That killed more than 100 people, the country's worst terror attack. Intelligence authorities said Santos' group was also involved in the attack. One of the self-confessed ferry bombers was a Muslim convert that belonged to the Raja Sulaiman movement. Adan said that Santos and his companions did not resist arrest when a combined team of soldiers and police officers stormed the hideaway early on Wednesday morning. The rebels were sleeping when the raid began, said a soldier involved in the assault. Meanwhile, in Europe, a fire killed 11 people and injured 15 at a detention center at Amsterdam's Schiphol airport. The fire, which began shortly after midnight, consumed several hours to contain. All the dead are thought to be detainees waiting for deportation.
The fire broke out shortly after midnight and quickly swept through the detention centre at Amsterdam Schiphol airport. The complex houses around 350 inmates. Most are illegal immigrants and suspected drug smugglers.
There are 11 people dead and 15 people wounded. 3 people escaped. They were captured again by the police and brought back to the jail.
A fleet of ambulances took the victims to hospital. It took several hours to bring the fire under control, but flights from the airport weren't affected. The cause of the blaze isn't known, and a major investigation has been launched. Sonia Legg, Reuters.
4 Arab men were found guilty of planning to bomb Jewish targets in Germany. At the end of a marathon trial, the 4 men were found guilty of belonging to an Islamic militant group which planned attacks on 2 Jewish-owned Dusseldorf discos in the Berlin Community Center on the orders of militant Islamist leader Abu Musab al-Zarqawi.
4 Arab men accused of planning to attack Jewish targets in Germany have been sentenced to jail for between 5 and 8 years. The 3 Jordanians and an Algerian were following orders from militant Islamist leader Abu al-Zarqawi, who is wanted in the United States for allegedly leading the insurgency in Iraq. Most of the evidence came from a 5th member of the group who received a lesser jail sentence as reward for his testimony, and of course defense lawyers question his motivation. German secret services claimed that at the time of their arrest, the men were under increasing pressure from Zarqawi to bomb 2 Jewish-owned nightclubs in Dusseldorf. Martin Bignold, Reuters.
A mudslide in central Bolivia buried at least 9 people after sweeping away 2 homes. Heavy rains caused the Mayu River to burst its banks. The mudslide carried rocks and trees through the area, destroying 2 houses on the river banks.
A torrent of mud cascaded through the village of El Chapare after the nearby village burst its banks. Rocks and trees were brought down and 2 houses on the riverbank were swept away. 9 people inside were killed, 3 of them children under 4. Police say other families may also have been affected. It's feared the death toll could rise. Heavy rain caused the river to overflow and a major rescue operation is underway. The mudslide also closed a main road linking 2 cities and police are combing the area for stranded travellers. It's feared more mudslides could take place as rain is forecast later in the week. Sonia Legg, Reuters.
Brazilian authorities step up preventive measures against a foot and mouth disease as new cases appear. Brazil's agriculture minister met representatives from the livestock industry as another outbreak of the disease was reported.
While Europe and Asia worry about the chances of a bird flu epidemic, another animal-borne disease surfaces in Brazil. Foot and mouth disease has been found in cattle in the south of the country, although Agriculture Minister Roberto Rodrigues believes everything possible has been done to contain the disease. As the livestock was vaccinated and all measures taken, he says, maybe we could have had 10 times the resources and the foot and mouth would have appeared anyway. The battle now is to stop the disease spreading to neighbouring São Paulo state, the centre of the Brazilian beef industry. More than 40 countries are already blacklisting Brazilian beef, and the economic impact of a widespread outbreak could be devastating. Brazil is the world's leading beef exporter, with more cattle than people. Martin Bignold, Reuters.
Here's something interesting. A Bosnian scientist claims to have discovered the remains of a pyramid dating back several thousand years in central Bosnia. The researcher of ancient civilization says the Viskosia Hill, some 30 kilometers north of Sarajevo, is a pyramid built by the first known inhabitants of the Balkans.
This pyramid is not on the banks of the Nile, it's in Bosnia. Samir Osmanagic has investigated pyramids in Central and South America and believes this site near Sarajevo is the earliest example of pyramid building in Europe, dating back almost 10,000 years. Digging below the surface of the hill has revealed layers of sandstone slabs unlike anything else in the area. Osmanagic believes the pyramids were built by Illyrians, among the earliest settlers in the Balkans. And just like the famous pyramids of Giza, these monoliths are designed to dominate the landscape. Osmanagic eventually hopes to get aerial and satellite imagery of the area to back up his claim. Martin Bignold, Reuters.
The first South Korean baby born in the north arrived in the south, but her mother says the infant's home will always be Pyongyang. Pro-unification activist Hwang Seon was visiting the north to see a festival when she went into labor on October 10, earlier than expected. She's the first South Korean woman to give birth in a communist state.
A celebrity send-off for Korea's first unity baby. Hospital staff in Pyongyang bidding farewell to Hwang Seon and her baby girl, 15 days after the South Korean pro-unification activist went into early labor while on a visit to the north. The infant's birth is being celebrated as yet another sign of improving relations between the two Koreas, with mother and baby's return to the south, headline news on both sides of the border.
I'm happy to be back in my family, and I'm also happy that my baby's hometown is Pyongyang, with the changing atmosphere in the north and south.
While the two Koreas are technically still at war, the South considers the North part of its territory, so the baby, still to be named, will have a South Korean passport. Her mother hopes that one day soon the two Koreas will be one, and her little girl can simply say she's Korean. Susan Flory, Reuters.
And before we all be one, here's the weather forecast in Macau this 27th of October 2005. It will remain mainly hazy and fine, but gradually becoming cloudy with light to moderate easterly winds, becoming moderate northerlies at the end of the day. We should also experience some light rain patches late in the afternoon. The minimum temperature is situated at around 24 degrees centigrade and settled at 30 degrees Celsius. That was the weather, and those were our stories. I will see you again tomorrow at the same time. You do stay safe and have a good night.